Calling the roll for the Monday, December 16th Board of Control meeting. It is now 11:02 a.m. We have Nan Baker. Here. Dale Miller. Here. Trevor Mackler serving as an alternate for Dan Brady. Here. Dave Marquardt serving as an alternate for Mike Dever.
Here.
Mike Chambers serving as an alternate for Armin Budish.
Here.
Amy Himmeline serving as an alternate for the fiscal officer.
Here.
Lenore Lockett.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Any public comment? No? I don't think so. Contracts.
No public comment, I'm sorry.
Table items? None?
We wanted to review the minutes.
Oh, review the minutes, correct. Let's take a second to review them. If anyone has any questions, speak up.
I'll move their approval.
I'll second that. Moved and approved. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So new items.
First new item, item number BC 2019-917, Department of Public Works, submitting an agreement with the City of Bedford in the amount not to exceed $300,000 for sanitary and storm sewer maintenance services located in County Sewer District Number 20 for the period January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020.
This item is a renewal of a one-year agreement with Bedford for us to provide direct bill sanitary sewer services to them, and it's in the amount of $300,000.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Any questions on this item? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trevor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved.
Next item, BC 2019-918, Department of Public Works, submitting an agreement with the City of Seven Hills in the amount not to exceed $300,000 for sanitary and storm sewer maintenance services located in the County Sewer District Number 2, and it's for the period January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020.
This is the same type of agreement as in the previous one, and it's with the City of Seven Hills.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Trevor?
Dave, just one question. Is there a reason why we only do one-year contracts? Is it the city's only interested in doing 1 year at a time, or have we talked about longer-term contracts?
We do if we get into the full service. These are direct bill agreements, and we go year by year with communities on those direct bills.
Okay, any further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved.
Next item, item number BC 2019-919, Department of Public Works, recommending an award on requisition 45663 and enter into a contract with SA Communal Co. Inc. in the amount not to exceed $86,949 for fire extinguisher inspection, servicing, testing, and replacement at various county buildings. And it's for the period December 16th, 2019 through December 15th, 2022.
Good morning, Tom Pavich, Department of Public Works. This item, we're requesting approval of a contract with SA Communal for fire extinguisher inspection, testing, and replacement for county buildings for 3 years. It's a not to exceed dollar amount. This was a formal bid conducted with OPD. We went to 15 vendors with one bid submission.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Mackler. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, item number BC 2019-920, Department of Public Works, submitting an amendment to a contract with Shermer Construction LLC for the replacement of Stone Road Bridge number 00.98 over Hemlock Creek in the City of Independence for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $43,558.02, recommending to accept construction as complete and in accordance with plans and specifications, requesting authority for the county treasurer to release the escrow account in accordance with Ohio Revised Code section 153.63.
This amendment is to adjust to the final quantities that were used on the project and also includes additional costs for project acceleration and winterization. It was, the bids the first set of bids had to be rejected. We rebid the project. When we rebid, it put us closer to the winter months with construction, so to get back on an appropriate schedule, we had to do acceleration and winterization throughout that first winter. It also includes some additional water line that was encountered during construction. It wasn't exactly where it was shown on the plan. And when we did start demolition of the existing structure, they had to move the water line. It includes some additional rock protection for erosion and an additional culvert requested by the city. The total amount is a 4% increase from the original contract. It is also 8% under the original estimate. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Are there any questions? I move to approve. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Mackler. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next item, item number BC 2019-921, has been requested by the department be held. Moving on to the next item is a two-part item, item number BC 2019-922, Department of Development. A, submitting an ERP exemption which will result in grant awards to various municipalities in the total amount not to exceed $427,500 for round 3 of the SBA Municipal County Small Business Financing Initiative Pilot Program. And it's for the period January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2021. And B, recommending the awards in connection with said RFP exemption to the following municipalities: the City of Cleveland Heights in the amount not to exceed $127,500, B, City of Lakewood in the amount not to exceed $150,000, and C, City of Shaker Heights in the amount not to exceed $150,000.
Good morning, Paul Hertig with the Department of Development. This item looks for approval of additional awards to 3 cities to continue what we believe has been a very successful program, our SBA Municipal County Small Business Financing Program. Very briefly stated, the county provides funds, cities provide some matching funds, and together these funds are used to make performance grants to small businesses in those cities. The purpose of the grant is to leverage a larger SBA-insured bank loan. It's been a highly successful program. We have 6 different cities that we're working with. In this particular round, we did put out an informal procurement. It was open to all first-ring suburbs. The 3 cities that did apply for funds were Cleveland Heights, Lakewood, and Shaker Heights. Our review committee found they were doing a good job with the money they had already, and therefore did recommend additional funding.
Okay, any questions? Trevor? No?
Did other cities apply, or was it only those 3?
Only those 3 cities applied.
Any further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Thanks, Paul.
Next item, item number BC 2019-923. It's a two-part item, Department of Development. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 47328, which will result in a payment to HZW Environmental Consultants, LLC, in the total amount not to exceed $14,724.05 to cover the remaining balance on 2 final invoices for environmental assessment services rendered during the month of July and August 2019 for various projects in connection with contract number CE 17,027, and B, recommending the payment in connection with said RFP exemption.
Paul Hertig again. What we're doing here is closing out a federal grant that Cuyahoga County received from the Environmental Protection Agency. Under the terms of this grant, which ended September 30th of this year, we could do assessments of property that needed cleanup. We did procurement early in the grant period and selected 3 environmental firms, and we did enter into contracts. So the payments that we're requesting was made during the contract period, for work during a contract period to a firm we had contracted with. The reason it's coming this way is when we're in the closeout period, the process of adding money to our contract's a little bit different. Because the contract has ended already, we can't use the normal amendment process. But I do want to stress this is not late. It's simply we're doing the paperwork correctly, if that makes sense.
Are there any questions for Paul? Okay, seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Thanks.
Okay.
The next item is a two-part item, item number BC 2019-924, Department of Workforce Development, submitting an RP exemption on requisition 47506, which will result in an award recommendation to St. Vincent Charity Medical Center in the amount not to exceed $75,000 for the provision of one social worker to assist with disaster relief employment services in connection with the Ohio Means Jobs, Cleveland, Cuyahoga County National Health Emergency Disaster Recovery National Dislocated Worker Grant Program. And it's for the period December 9th, 2019 through December 31st, 2020. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Frank Brickner from the Department of Workforce Development. This is related to the disaster relief grant we received, federal dollars passed through the state to us to provide workforce services to combat the opioid epidemic. One of the things we can do is disaster relief employment. St. Vincent's approached us needing to hire a new position to combat the opioid epidemic. So we are recommending a contract in the amount of $75,000. They will hire a new social worker position to provide care coordination and discharge planning on evenings and weekends. This is new to them. So this is an allowable service where we can pay the wages and fringes for 51 weeks, and it is an allowable WIOA eligible individual.
Are there any questions? Trevor?
Frank, do you know what happens after the 51 weeks? Is there a plan or any discussion with St. Vincent about what happens to the staff worker after that time period?
Yes, there is no requirement for these grants that the individual is kept at the wherever they are hired, but we did talk to St. Vincent, and they are hopeful that this will be a position when the grant dollars go away. It's important enough that they maintain this position.
Do you think will they have the available resources to continue that position, do you believe?
In St. Vincent's case, yes.
Okay.
They believe so. And if they don't continue with this position, there's needs in other areas for this type of social worker.
And then maybe for the other ones as we go through it, if you could let us know if you think that position would remain or not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions on this one? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Thank you.
The next item is a two-part item, item number BC 2019-925, Department of Workforce Development. A, submitting an RP exemption on requisition 47510, which will result in an award recommendation to Treatment Works Inc. in the amount not to exceed $56,672 for the provision of one intake coordinator to assist with the disaster relief employment services in connection with the Ohio Means Jobs, Cleveland, Cuyahoga County National Health Emergency Disaster Recovery National Dislocated Worker Grant Program. And it's for the period December 9th, 2019 through December 31st, 2020.
Good morning, Frank Brickner again, Workforce Development. Treatment Works is a sober living facility for men that can accommodate up to 60 individuals. They came to us saying they were pretty much overwhelmed because of the opioid epidemic. All their beds are pre-filled. So they said they had a need for a new intake position. We identified an individual who was eligible under the grant, and they are hiring the person to address the opioid emissions. This position will assist with the emissions, resident records, and addressing resident needs. Honestly, I'm not as confident with this one as with St. Vincent's about retainment. However, we are comfortable. They did say, hey, we hope that we will keep this position full-time. However, if they don't in this position, I think we would be able to fill this in another capacity or find employment for this position.
And I also would like to add, for the record, we're also recommending the award in connection with said RP exemption.
Are there any questions? Councilwoman Baker.
So I see we have 3 of these,
Yes.
and it's for 1 year exactly, pretty much, from
Yes.
now until the end of next year.
Yes.
Does this exhaust the funds?
We have about 75,000 left. There may be one more of these coming. within the next couple weeks.
Then you've used all of the grant,
Well, we'll obligated all of the grant.
obligated all.
And by the way, we've been approaching the state saying, we think we're fully obligated. We know other areas are not, and they did ask for an amount from us, and we are hopeful that we can get an increase to our grant.
Good, thanks.
Okay, any further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item approved.
Next item is a two-part item, item number BC 2019-926, Department of Workforce Development. A, submitting an RP exemption on requisition 47429, which will result in an award recommendation to Stella Maris Inc. in the amount not to exceed $41,000 for the provision of one peer specialist to assist with the disaster relief employment services in connection with the Ohio Means Jobs, Cleveland, Cuyahoga County, National Health Emergency Disaster Recovery, National Dislocated Worker Grant Program, and is for the period December 9th, 2019 through December 31st, 2020, and B, recommending the award in connection with said RP exemption.
Good morning, Frank Brickner, Workforce. We're recommending a contract with Stella Maris. Stella Maris came to us saying they like a new peer support position to work with individuals in their detoxification unit. It's something, they've had peer support positions in the past, but not in the detox unit where this position isn't, you can't get Medicaid or other funding for it. It's a pilot for them, but they are feeling that it's really needed. They need somebody who will be a mentor as individuals are on detox, who's lived the similar life and had similar experiences. They've identified the position, and I feel pretty comfortable that they are well-meaning that they would keep this position when funds end.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item approved.
Thank you.
The next item, item number BC 2019-927, I would like to make one correction. The submitting department is the Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, recommending an award on requisition 47163 and to enter into a contract with AT&T Corp. in the amount not to exceed $251,696.68 for network connectivity services for the Next Generation 911 system, and it's for the period November 1st, 2019 through October 31st, 2024.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn from Public Safety, and this is a renewal of our IP Flex SIP transport and VoIP services. These circuits allow the county PSAPs to port their 10-digit lines onto the county's 911 system. This allows the dispatchers to work off of one system for all calls, and working off the one system for their 911 calls and their 10-digit admin lines allows the dispatchers to be more proficient, and it increases efficiencies. This contract is delayed because unfortunately there were some issues with other county accounts that prevented our AT&T representative from being able to give us the quote until August 29th. And at that point, we've been working with AT&T to get the associated contract documents.
Okay, any questions? Okay, seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item approved.
Thank you.
Item number BC 2019-928, Department of Information Technology, submitting an amendment to a contract with DWR Consulting for consultant services on famous and payroll system applications. And it's for the period April 1st, 2016 through December 31st, 2019, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $110,000, effective November 19th, 2019.
Hello, Janelle Green on behalf of the Department of IT. This request is to amend the contract with DWR for the famous and payroll system support that he provides. This contract expires December 31st of this year, but we wanted to add funding on this year to cover invoices for work that DWR has already rendered in support of the system and transitioning over to ERP. Wanted to correct the funding source. It is 100% ERP. The last contract amendment we did have 10% going into operations in support of our mainframe operations.
Okay, are there any questions on this item? Councilwoman Baker, please.
Gentlemen. So I guess the obvious question is the 110,000 that you're requesting, is that something that was part of the ERP set aside, or is this in addition to it, or?
So the original amount that we did put in for the budget for this service was approximately $53,000. So the remaining amount, that was to carry us into June 30th of 2020. So we're asking for an additional amount in the event that we do need to have the services go to the end of the year. I don't think that we do anticipate that would happen, but we just wanted to ensure that we had that up front. So we only had one ask, but we did budget for the $53,000 in the fiscal summary for ERP.
So if the 53,000's already been accounted for, and you haven't spent it yet, and it's good till the end of June.
So we didn't, we put it in the numbers, but it wasn't included in the total budget of actual dollars that we contracted with the vendor for. So we anticipated we'd have that money, but we didn't, or that requirement, but we didn't actually have it contracted with the vendor as of yet.
So the 53,000 that you,
essentially, from the 110,000, subtract the 53,000, and then the remainder amount is what we had not accounted for.
okay, so that goes back to my question then. If you have 53,000 set aside, then why not wait until June and see, especially if you don't think you're going to need it, and fulfill your obligation of dollars that are there, and not ask today for any additional money?
We can go and amend that amount. That is fine. But we just wanted to make sure that we covered the entire year. We do have a termination clause in this contract for 30 days in the event that we don't need that service.
So you would still be asking for 53,000 today?
Yes.
That's it for now. Maybe my colleagues will try.
Okay. I think my colleague covered it.
Oh,
Okay.
Thank you. You did a
Mr. McAleer?
very good job.
So Janelle, the current contract, it expires in a couple weeks, right? So you're bringing forward, you were originally just going to bring forward a contract that expired in June of 2020? And then you decided to go for the rest of the year? Is that
Right,
correct?
because there's dates that changed, and with the different phases of ERP, we just wanted to make sure that we are covered for the work in order to transition to ERP, and if we had any kind of work in relation to transferring historical data over to the data lake.
We pay on a monthly basis, right? Is that what's our bill?
We pay as invoice, so typically we receive 2 invoices from the vendor a month.
What's the set amount though per month, or how are
Typically, it depends on what's happening. So it's around $7,300 a month, but there's some other extenuating circumstances. So if we have some payroll issues or something like that, that would cover us.
Did the set rate go up for the 2020 than what we were paying from 2019?
The hourly rate has stayed the same.
And do you believe this will be the last time this contract comes forward?
To the best of my knowledge, this is the last one. Unfortunately, with the extension of the project, this has moved as other items have.
Okay, are there any further questions? Councilman Baker?
That does help. So the 53,000 will take us to the end of June.
Correct.
The contract, hopefully, or I should say the ERP project, is scheduled to be done, at least in its core presence, by the end of March. So this is 3 months past that.
Right, to supply additional support services. So when we did the last amendment to the mainsail contract, for example, there were some supports that were also baked into that contract as well. So to take us to June 30th.
And the total ERP project is to be completed by the end of 2020.
For that specifics, Jack is here because I don't know the dates.
For the most
So-
part, I mean, there's always going to be. So is that why we're taking it to the end of 2020, just to encumber all the additional expenses that could come after June because we're not there yet?
Correct. So that is anticipation of moving the famous data into the data lake for the historical purposes. So if there's nothing, that we need from Dave Vrowski in order to do that, then we would terminate the contract early. So we're just trying to anticipate if there's additional need or anything like that. So that's why this contract would go to the end of December 31st. But again, we are in full belief that we would exercise the termination of convenience that's included in the contract for 30 days.
Are both of you comfortable with adding another $47,000 to this for what ifs?
Councilwoman, to your point, I mean, that's an additional expense of $57,000 that wasn't anticipated, again, related to the
57, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
yes.
related to the ERP project. How long have we had this vendor as our, I mean, it's been,
This was originally a fiscal contract that was in place in 2016.
well, prior to that?
Prior to that, I believe he's been around. I don't know. He definitely predates my employee here.
Yeah, I mean,
He's been around for a while.
I mean, sometimes when we don't use all of it, it becomes a pot of money that can be put elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a chance that and I think it's an extra 47,000 if you're asking for 53?
It's a total 110, so
Oh,
it's
110.
57.
The 110. Any way that pot of money can be put somewhere else because
Sure. So we did that with a number of contracts with the ERP. So one of the backfill contracts was, for example, quick employment. So that contract was for $164,000, and we only used $94,000 of that. So that was reallocated back into the budget. Also, Fred Lombardo was a contractor on this particular index code, which with his passing, we did cancel his contract. So those funds are redistributed through.
that's the concern is that we are allowing another 57,000 for this purpose, but if they fulfill the obligation with 53,000, then there's another 57 out there that we say, well, how did you pay for that? Well, it came out of an allocation that we didn't have to use it all, when in fact now we're not thinking we're going to be using it all. It's a safety net.
Right, to your point, though, it's not as transparent, though, in terms of if another contract comes forward, it's, well, where did you get the money? But versus this way, if you did 53,
Right.
then you have to come back and, even though they would have to come back and ask for the additional money, but it's a different type of process.
Right.
Now, why does it say NA in the backup for TAC approval? Does this not require TAC approval?
Typically, first, we don't set down the requirements when we put something through, because when sitting in IT department, we process things as any other department would. So when we do renewals, that's one of the things that it doesn't require to go to TAC. That's the CTO can decide if it goes to TAC or if it's a renewal of a service or product that we already had. So he would have determined if they needed to go to TAC.
Councilman Miller.
My concern is that if we amend it for only through June 30th, and then we end up needing more time, that the vendor is either going to say it's going to be a higher rate, or you got to do a full year like we had with that other contract.
We did have that
and
before.
I don't want to see that kind of mess. I think we should just do the year and mark our calendars for June 30th, and if it turns out we stay on schedule and this isn't needed, we can just ask that the remaining part of the contract be decertified.
Definitely, and we'll provide reporting on that anyway as part of our monthly brief to you guys.
Is there any way that we can write a provision for transparency purposes, that when this money is not going to be needed, hopefully not, that the additional 57,000 cannot be used for anything unless continued approval is given?
I'll make a note and send it to our attorney, and if that is the case, that'll be essentially a $0 amendment to put it into the contract or something to that effect. I'll ask the attorney what the specific steps are for
I still
that.
want to see it going into paying another ERP item that we're not even aware of, that these dollars got shifted.
No, that makes sense,
Okay.
definitely.
Then-
Trevor.
You know, if 53,000 was in the original contract, was the vendor only expecting a 6-month contract originally, if we only had 53 in the budget?
It wasn't discussed with the vendor directly, so it was our assumption that everything would be closed out. So I don't think the vendor had any expectation of, well, technically, the vendor expected to be gone earlier this year, to be honest. But in terms of moving forward, I don't think he had necessarily an expectation of which direction it would move.
To Councilman Miller's point, though, do you think it would be an issue with the vendor if we only did a 6-month contract for renewal? I mean, he has been with the county for a really long time. So, I mean, if he tried to pull that with the last 6 months, I don't think that would be very fair to the county, considering the relationship that we've had with him over the last multiple years.
Not having spoke to the vendor about it, so I can't speculate to, what his feelings are about that at this time.
So I believe we have a motion. Councilman Miller, you're still comfortable moving forward with this? Or where do we stand?
I don't think any motions have been offered.
Okay.
May I ask just one
Sure,
question?
sure.
Given that we know that this was coming and that at a minimum we would be asking for 53,000, why are we asking it to be effective 11/19 instead of 12/19?
So the vendor had some invoices for services rendered in November. So we wanted to make sure that we were able to pay out those invoices.
Okay.
So he did run short of funds for this year.
So we have services provided but not paid,
Correct.
waiting for this to be approved.
Correct.
Do you have an estimate of what it is that we're in the rears?
Currently $7,350, I believe.
So 7 of the 53.
Trevor.
But to that point, so were we over budget and contract then for this year if we ran out of money in November?
Well, just looking at his history, he typically has services at about $100,000 to $110,000 a year. This particular contract was renewed for $95,000, but there was also, $90,000. But there was $10,000 on the last contract for mainframe operations services. That wouldn't have applied to this portion of the contract.
Any further questions?
I
Trevor?
think to Councilwoman Baker's point, I mean, if it's okay with the board, I would either request that we hold it to see, check with the vendor about a 6-month, or just move to amend it to make it a 6-month contract.
To interject on that point, if I would hope that we would not hold it, he would not be paid out due to the transition in systems. He wouldn't be paid out for quite a while if we waited to move this item forward. If we can amend it to 6 months, then we can get that approved and put forward to Dave, the vendor, if we can move forward on another 6 months on the contract.
So what are you recommending the total to be then today?
Then we'll do the $53,000 today, and then we'll have another conversation with Dave to see how we can move forward after the 6 months.
So 53,000 even?
Correct. Yes.
Through June 30.
Through June 30th of 2020.
And through June 30th, okay.
And we'll get the contract amended and forward it over to OPD today. We know we are crushed for time because of the end of the year closing.
Does that get you enough, though, through June 30th with, if you have to pay from November 19th, and then if he averages 7,500 or so per month, does that get you enough?
To 6 months, it's 42. Yeah, this should take us, just quick math, it should take us, we should be fine.
Councilwoman Baker?
I think too that when we have a specific amount and a specific deadline, we work towards that. When we have more money that's needed, we sometimes tend to extend time and services. So perhaps maybe having these deadlines in place, end of March, end of June, end of December, we're really focused on making sure that we do what it is that we say we're going to do within the time period. So I think that it would be good business to try and get the 6 months with the 53 and try to meet that deadline and hopefully not need more after that. And if so, come back to us.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, let me try this. I'm going to,
I'm just going to read it into the record for clarification. We are extending the time period to June 30th, 2020, and we're adding additional funds in the amount not to exceed $53,000. And the funding source has been revised to reflect its 100% ERP general funds.
thank you. So I will make a motion to approve the amended, or whatever we just read in. Do I have a second? Councilman Baker, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item approved. Thank you.
Next item is a two-part item, item number BC 2019-929, Department of Information Technology. A, submitting an RP exemption on requisition 47243, which will result in an award recommendation to Trusted Sec LLC in the amount not to exceed $50,000 for specialized security staff services focusing in application security. And it's for the period December 9th, 2019 through December 8th, 2020. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Janelle Green, Department of IT. This contract with Trusted Sec is for staff augmentation services for the IT information security functional area. This will provide services needed due to staffing shortages that the department is experiencing at this time.
Okay, do we have any questions? Mr. McAleer?
No, just similar to the last one. Why does it have no answer for the TAC approval?
We typically don't put an answer or put NA for those because when it goes out of our queue, we don't determine that. The administrators in IT who serve as essentially deputy directors would determine if that item needs to get to, after it goes to technology review, they determine if it would need to go to CTO approval and TAC. So we wouldn't know of any, the question that's on the briefing memo asks when the meeting date is, we wouldn't know until they determine when that meeting date is.
Okay, maybe later this week if we can just talk about that, because I'm not sure, based off the county code, if TAC approval can be waived like that.
What has happened is in terms of the 501(c)(3) transparency, the CTO has the ability to determine if something is going to go to TAC or if it's something was a standard or renewal or under $7,500 purchase, which is what has been coded into OnBase currently.
But this isn't a renewal or anything. I mean, that's where we can talk about it later. I'm not sure if the flexibility is there the way it's been being utilized. But
okay, that's not my decision. That's the CTO's decision.
Any further questions? Councilwoman Baker.
So did I hear you say that this is being outsourced because we don't have in-house
the staffing, adequate enough staffing. So that functional area has been short for quite a while, and they've been trying to hire to fill in those gaps, but they had some shortages for quite a while.
How many would it take to hire in order to eliminate this service?
I believe 2 is what we have slated thus far. Is that correct? I have the information security officer here.
Okay.
Hello. We have 2 positions open to fulfill the requested needs for these. It is always good to also have a third-party company come out and review that. So I think a third-party company, either outsourced, will always be needed in any organization, but the amount of services needed would be a lot less once we have that staffing. We're currently right now off of PRC, and we're in first round of interviews. So we hope to have people first quarter of next year.
So if you have people first quarter of next year, will this price drop? it's up to not to exceed, so can you anticipate that that would be the most you would spend? You would hopefully spend less?
Well, I can tell you that we probably hopefully use that amount of money by actually that date. This goes fast. These are very specialized security services. Also, we would probably reprioritize to other gaps. We get specific types of security requirements ad hoc here. We have to be very flexible and agile, so we'd probably distribute those to necessary areas. Especially, we have a lot of areas within the Board of Elections that we're doing for the 2020 election as well.
So with the two hires, whether they're hired or whether they're not, this 50,000 would be a repeated ask?
I'm not sure. I would probably say no. We also separately we have an RFQ that we currently also have, so we're trying to lump a lot of things into a more strategic RFQ that's currently within scoring as well. So this is kind of hopefully a stopgap, but without telling you more of how our security operational status will be in the next couple of months, I could give you a better answer next year.
Okay, but you are currently going to be hiring 2 more people?
Correct, and those are budgeted items. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can you identify yourself for the record?
Yep. Jeremy Meal, the Information Security Officer within the Department of IT.
Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item is a two-part item. Item number BC 2019-930, Department of Information Technology. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 47430, which will result in an award recommendation to Dell Marketing LP in the amount not to exceed $10,285.48 for the purchase of 4 Microsoft SQL Server Standard Core licenses for use by the Veterans Service Commission. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Janelle Green, Department of IT. These are 4 licenses that are purchased off of our enterprise agreement through Dell Marketing. These SQL Server licenses are for us to create a virtual server to centrally store the Veteran Services ID card information. Currently, they're being housed on computers in 2 different areas. What we are trying to do is create an environment in order to back that system up so there will not be any loss of data.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Mackler. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Item approved.
Next item, item number BC 2019-931, Department of Information Technology, submitting an amendment to a contract with Attunity Inc. for support and maintenance on 23 RepliWeb R1 Distribution Manager full license server software, and it's for the period January 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2019, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2020, to assign the interest to Click Tech International AB, effective May 7th, 2019, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $5,400.
Good morning, Board. Dennis Sullivan, Department of IT. This is a renewal and amendment. Attunity actually does our RepliWeb. It does the load balancing between all the web presence for anyone to do a search on the web for the county websites, and it also supports all the applications that are on the web presence for the county. This will take it out another year.
Okay, Dennis, I know there's a question saying when's the last time it was bid out? Do you recall?
This was sole source. They evaluate vendors that can possibly do it. In our answers during the amendment justification, we stated that, if any new technology comes forward, certainly would evaluate it, but at this point, this is the winner in that area.
Okay, any further questions? Trevor?
This is sole source. They're the only vendor.
The original was a sole source, yes. This is an amendment process.
The original contract was?
Correct.
Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second?
Can I just,
Yeah.
Would they still be considered sole source today? Even though this is an amendment, they're the only vendor that can provide license for searching our website?
I don't want to speak out of turn, Trevor. let me definitively get back to you on that one. I believe so, yes, but I don't want to be on the record. For me to poke at that, I'll find out definitively.
Thank you.
Councilman Baker.
Curious, the ask is for 5,400 and it's 23 full license server software. That seems, I don't want to complain, but it seems low.
It's not just for licensing, right? It's for the support also, maintenance and support.
But 5,400 for 23.
Our previous contract was a 3-year contract, and it was just under 15,000.
Okay,
So it's not that, if you're wondering, it's not that expensive of support.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Seems reasonable.
Okay. Move to approve, seconded by Mr. Mackler. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you, Board.
Is a two-part item. Item number BC 2019-932, Fiscal Office. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 47655, which will result in an award recommendation to Richard Opry in the amount not to exceed $110,000 for support for the Enterprise Resource Planning Project. It's for the period December 2017, which should reflect 2019 through December 31st, 2020, and be recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Michael Zapola, Fiscal Office. Basically, we're looking to add a resource to help implement and do some training on our procurement system. This individual has some very specialized skill sets and experience in that area. We took it out to the end of the year just in case we need some follow-up training or anything along those lines.
Are there any questions? Councilman Baker, why don't you go first? Okay.
Okay, so of all the things that we've talked about with the ERP, I don't remember or recognize ERP Planning Fund.
That does not exist. It should be 100% general fund dollars for the ERP project.
Okay, and so that leads to the next question was this already set aside dollars that were needed for this project, or is this new dollars that you're asking for?
I do not believe they're new dollars, but I will defer to Jack on that.
Yeah, these.
Identify yourself.
Oh, Jack Ryan, ERP Program Director. These were originally not part of the budgeted funds here. We have been talking and briefing concerning adding additional personnel to augment, to make our schedules on the first part of April, and then to make sure that we had adequate support beyond that for post-go live support. So Mr. Opry has 29 years of experience with the county prior, and could do tremendous things to help the team. So that's why we're seeking the additional funding.
So when we approved the last round of dollars to get us through to the end of March, and we thought we accounted for everything that was going to be needed, this was something above and beyond that we didn't account for when we approved the last round of money?
We had accounted for some additional funding. We were originally going to, we had gone down the path of putting him under an amendment for the main sale contract, but that was not an approved approach, and so we're doing this one separately. Okay.
But I guess I'm asking, is this in addition to what it is we've already approved?
Yes.
This 110,000.
Yes, the short answer to that, yes.
And so it's an unexpected cost, one that we didn't anticipate when I just wonder how many times we're going to keep adding, whether it's IT needing more personnel, or now we have a new person, which sounds like a good person. I mean, it sounds like he's somebody that will be valuable, but I'm just wondering how many more times we're going to be adding to the amount we've already approved.
As we reworked the schedule this last time, we became aware that we have people in the procurement office working on 2 simultaneous go lives, and we're looking at the workload there and needing to get some relief for that staff. So it wasn't entirely possible to predict exactly what the impact was going to be at that point.
think it's a fair question. Do you think that that this is it? That we have not only approved what we thought was going to get us through to the end of March, but now an extra person that's going to be another set of eyes to get us through that finish date? Are you looking at perhaps other shortfalls that you're going to be asking for?
We have probably at least one other set of staff shortfalls that we'll be discussing with council on. We have a meeting on Thursday, I believe. In that particular case, though, they are backfill positions that are covered by in the overall budget, not just the ERP. That are already covered by county staff positions that have been unfilled for some time. A different view of Mr. Oprey's addition here is that actually there's enough funds that even part of that would have been covered by some of that backfill. I don't have that exact number. I can give you that analysis, though.
I would ask that when we meet on Thursday, which I'll be there, that you try to give us, from this point, as much as you can, how much more you think we're going to be needing.
I am prepared to do that. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Miller.
Why did we hire through main sale rather than just trying to employ Mr. Oakley directly with the county for probably less money?
Why did we not do through, excuse me, why did we not go through main sale? The reason for that was that apparently the way that the law in this case works is that we cannot bring Mr. Oakley back as a third-party contractor doing similar or identical services that he provided before when he was an employee with the county, and certainly not within a 12-month period. So this caused us to go in this particular direction. It actually saves the county some money anyway, going this direction. We did not know that until we investigated further and it was pointed out to us.
How does it save the county money?
Well, there's probably another, I think the estimate that we had for Mr. Oprey under the main sale contract would have been maybe $20,000 higher because we're going direct. There's no overhead, if that's the right term, associated with that.
So he's not being hired through main sale?
No, sir.
No.
No, it's a direct hire from the county as a 1099 employee.
Okay, fine.
Yes, sir.
He'll be overseen, too, by the OPD department as well. They'll be assigning the tasks.
Right.
Trevor, please.
So, Jack, to your point, there's no issues with revolving door or anything, even though we're contracting directly with him. That's been cleared either through the Inspector General's office or...
I see we have the Inspector General here. Yeah. Let him speak to that.
Mark Griffin, Inspector General. There was an issue with the revolving door, which is why we've changed it. So for a period of 12 months, county employees, state employees cannot go work for a vendor and interface back with the county. So if Mr. Oprey were to be employed by a vendor, that would probably violate both the Ohio law and county law. So by doing it directly, as long as his work is being paid for by the county, is being overseen by county officials, it's not a revolving door issue because he is a county. He's being paid for by the county, not by the vendor. His loyalties need to always be for the county.
He's registered with you now as a vendor?
As of Friday. Okay, thank you. So we wanted to make sure that we were not violating the revolving door, and we intervened to change it.
And then, Mike, just clarification, the start date, I think it should read 12/17/2019.
Yeah.
It says 12/17.
For the record?
Okay.
That's okay.
Councilman Baker, please.
So do you anticipate that we will only need this person for 1 year? Or are you thinking that he would be fulfilling a position that's vacant after 12/31/2020, given he has seems like he has the credentials to be helpful?
Yeah, no, we're only anticipating for the period specified here at this point to get us through the implementation, and post-go live support is needed. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Mackler. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Item approved. Thank you.
Moving on to the next item, item number BC 2019-933, Fiscal Office, Treasurer's Department, recommending an award on requisition 47128 to the United States Postal Service in the amount not to exceed $250,000 for the purchase of postage for second half 2019, first half 2020, and third tax bill mailing services. And it's for the period December 17, 2019 through December 31st, 2020.
Good afternoon, technically. Chris Murray, County Treasurer. I'm here to submit the award for our tax bill mailings. This $250,000 will cover three tax bill collection periods, second half of 2019, first half 2020, and then also the tax billing for tax year 2019. Any questions?
Are there any questions? Councilman Miller, please.
What is the projection for when the mailing is going to come out for the one that's coming up very soon?
Are you asking when the mailing for the first half is coming out?
Right.
Okay, that would be if our tax billing data is submitted to Midwest, I would imagine that we'll have tax bills hitting mailboxes the week of Christmas, which is standard.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Well, that's,
Merry Christmas.
again, that is standard. The code allows 20 days for taxpayers. We actually give you 30.
Mm-hmm. What's the date when it's due?
January 23rd.
Any more questions for the Grinch here? No? All right. Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second? All those in favor say aye. Item's approved. Thank you.
Item number BC 2019-934, Fiscal Office, Treasurer's Department, submitting an amendment to a master services agreement with Key Bank National Association for various program services for the period May 1st, 2014 through December 31st, 2019, to extend the time period to March 31st, 2020, and for additional funds in the total amount not to exceed $98,875 as listed on the printed agenda for corporate credit card program services for duty-related travel for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $60,000, and that's for contract numbers CE 1400-155 and CE 1400-156. Contract number CE 1400-157, it's for procurement card program services for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $29,625. For contract number CE 1500-263, for procurement card services for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $9,250. And for contract number CE 1800-115, for implementation of the Harris Governed Tax System and Treasury banking fee services, no additional funds required.
This award is to allow the county to continue operating for the first 3 months of the year while we finish negotiations with our selected banking partner, which is Key Bank.
Are there any questions? Trevor, please.
Thank you for the written answers from the questions.
Sure.
I know we're extending this here through March 31st. Do you believe you're going to have the new Key Bank contract in front of council and approved by the 31st?
Yes.
We've got a deadline now.
Thank you, Trevor.
Other questions? Councilman Baker.
So we've heard before in departments where things are delayed because of one person's illness. Have you been able to meet among your staff to try and overcome that really it's bigger than one person in your department?
Yes, the investment, as you saw in my answer, the investment department for the Treasury is only 3 people. We actually went through a staff change while I'm bringing on the new investment chief. So it got a little hairy, but we've made the necessary staff alignments, and we're meeting our daily cash reconciliation responsibilities.
So this is a glitch. If this were to happen
Quite
again,
a glitch, yes.
If you were to become ill again, you think you have the proper people?
I think I have the proper people now. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, Trevor? Sure.
Chris, did any of the fees go up for these 3 months, or did everything stay the same in terms of pricing structure?
this amendment does not include fees for calendar year 2020. The fees that we'll pay for this year are still in an existing CE. So when I bring you the actual 4-year agreement, it will include the fees for 2020.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Mackler. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, item number BC 2019-935, Fiscal Office Board of Revision, recommending a sole source award on requisition 47286 to Midwest Presort Mailing Services, Inc., doing business as Midwest Direct, in the amount not to exceed $225,035, and it's for the purchase of 100,000 customized envelopes for certified mailing, tracking, and document retention.
Good morning. My name is, or I guess good afternoon. I'm Audrey Rodriguez, the Administrative Coordinator in the Board of Revision. We are requesting this purchase for these certified envelopes through Midwest Direct because Midwest Direct is we have a proprietary software that was designed specifically to interface with our current BOR application, where any statutorily required documents that where it's necessary to send certified mail, a barcode is automatically generated, and to utilize that function to its fullest extent, we must utilize the corresponding envelopes. By purchasing these envelopes through Midwest, we also, this price also includes storage of the 100,000 envelopes at the Midwest facility, free delivery to the administration building upon request, along with a current inventory of our storage, and any support issues that arise within the application regarding the Midwest software.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Councilman Baker?
Yeah, I was surprised to read that Midwest is the only USPS certified system in the country. Wow.
Per the sole source affidavit from Will Ulrich, that's what he stated, that this is the only one, the USPS certified program. And this was a solution to the certified mailing process in lieu of doing the green cards and preparing the labels. I mean, this was a solution that was determined when the new application was formulated, when it was actually being developed. So the software is written already into our application. So any letter that's generated that's being sent certified has the barcode on it. If we were to, yeah.
Is there any thought, only just to make sure that you're getting good information, that we go out and make sure that this is the only source that we can use, and that it seems hard to believe that this would be the only certified system in the country as a certified affiliate.
It is the one that's written into the application already. If the people that developed the application were consultants and they are no longer employed by the county, so it could result in a very expensive rewrite of the application. And if we were to go back to doing the green cards, not only would the cost of postage increase, the county resources used to generate the green cards and the labels and all of that, that's a very manual process. Currently through the Midwest, we are getting a discount of about 55 cents per piece of mail. Thus, through December 8th, we contacted the mailroom. We sent out over 15,000 pieces of certified mail, and we are currently saving about 55 cents per piece, which has resulted, that's a pretty significant savings. Also, the last time this purchase was made was 2013, where we purchased 150,000 of these envelopes. So I anticipate this purchase lasting us a very long time.
13, 19.
So 6 years.
6 years. Okay, so for 6 years, hopefully, when we're in need again, Midwest is still, sounds like they are exclusive, but I appreciate your answer. Thank you.
Go ahead, Trevor, please.
Can I ask just clarification on the sole source part? They're the only certified vendor in the country, right, for just what we use, right, for our specs. They're not the only certified vendor that has barcoding technology and stuff, correct? I mean, we went to Midwest Direct, or they responded previously and to our needs, which are probably unique compared to other jurisdictions, but that's what they're the only vendor, right? They're not I mean, just what are they the sole source of?
They're the sole source of the, pretty much because they're interfaced with our application, we can't go outside them. This was written into our application as far as the sole source of they are, like I said, per Will Ulrich, per my contact at, they are the certified, they are one of this, he wrote on his affidavit that they are the only certified affiliate to send out certified mail through the United States Postal Service. We get a discount through ordering through them.
I'm just trying to get a little bit more clarification. When you say application, is that something that was created in-house for the Board of Revision?
Yes.
From internal IT staff?
I believe there were consultants brought in.
Was the consultants Midwest Direct, or was it someone else?
I was not here at the time that program was when the application was being developed, and I've read through some of the stuff that I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, because if I remember correctly, and it's been a while since, like you said, I think 6 years ago, it was just my understanding, kind of to follow up from Councilwoman Baker's question, that they're not necessarily the only certified vendor from the post office that can do that. It's the only certified vendor with our software program that we created. So they're not the only mail house, and I just think that if you could just clarify that. I mean, I'm okay with moving forward, knowing the work that they do, but I don't believe they're the only certified vendor by the USPS that can do barcoding. I think it's for our specs in the system that we use, which is a lot smaller group of people than every mail house out there that can do barcoding.
I think a lot of people can do what you're saying, the certified mailing, but you also mentioned here the retention. What do they do for you as far as that?
Within the application, once a letter is generated, it becomes a permanent public record in our application. Therefore, we don't need there is no green card to send back to us. We have the tracking number on the letter, and so it saves room on storage because we don't have to keep the green cards. We don't need to forward them to anybody, nor do we have to write down the tracking number in a log book. It's stored in our application.
Okay.
Does this price, the $225, include postage as well, or is that only for the envelopes?
That is just for the envelopes.
Any further questions?
OPD, you reviewed the sole source affidavit. Any questions?
Lenore Lockett, Office of Procurement and Diversity. They followed the procurement code that was required. It was posted. We received no inquiries. They submitted the required documentation.
Okay, any further questions? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Mackler. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next items number BC 2019-936 through 951 will be presented collectively and can be approved concurrently. Recommending awards on various requisitions and enter into agreements with various municipalities for various amounts for the provision of local, non-federal matching funds for implementation of the Operations and Safety Program in connection with the fiscal year 2018 Assistance to Firefighters Grant, and it's for the period December 1st, 2019 through October 31st, 2020 for the following municipalities. On requisition number 47192 with the City of Beechwood in the amount not to exceed $10,206.43. For requisition number 47195 with the City of Cleveland in the amount not to exceed $7,000. For requisition number RQ 47197 with the City of East Cleveland in the amount not to exceed $3,678.96. For requisition number RQ 47196 with the City of Cleveland Heights in the amount not to exceed $14,000. For requisition number RQ 47198 with the City of Euclid in the amount not to exceed $10,089. for requisition RQ 47199 with the City of Fairview Park in the amount not to exceed $3,095.24, for requisition RQ 47200 with the City of Garfield Heights in the amount not to exceed $19,896, for requisition 47086 with the City of Maple Heights in the amount not to exceed $6,286.37, for requisition RQ 47216 with the City of Parma in the amount not to exceed $57,336.28, for requisition RQ 47227 with the City of Richmond Heights in the amount not to exceed $2,366.67, for requisition RQ 47228 with the City of South Euclid in the amount not to exceed $4,967.64, for requisition RQ 47229 with the City of University Heights in the amount not to exceed $2,619.05, for requisition 47230 with the City of Warrensville Heights in the amount not to exceed $6,855, for requisition RQ 47193 with the Village of Brooklyn Heights in the amount not to exceed $7,217.86, for requisition RQ 47194 with the Village of Chagrin Falls in the amount not to exceed $3,523.81, and finally for requisition RQ 47207 with the Village of Highland Hills in the amount not to exceed $10,571.10.
Mary Beth Vaughn from Public Safety, and we received a special allocation from council to assist local public safety efforts, and these monies are being used to reimburse communities for their local matches for their assistance for firefighter grants. These communities applied for a competitive grant from FEMA. FEMA based their awards based on their priorities, the project merits, and the community's finances. The way this program works is that the communities actually go forward, do their project, they submit to FEMA for reimbursement, and then once they're reimbursed by FEMA, they can then apply to the county for reimbursement of their local match. The total requests here, excuse me, are $169,709.41, and in return, these communities in the aggregate will be receiving $2,198,434.59 from FEMA. In the case of the City of Beechwood, their project is to get self-contained breathing apparatus and face pieces. The City of Cleveland is being funded for a mobile fire ground survival training trailer, which is they can take from fire department to fire department to help the firefighters practice extracting themselves from a situation. The City of East Cleveland are getting hoses and related appliances. Cleveland Heights is a source capture exhaust system. The City of Euclid are purchasing cardiac monitors. Fairview Park is a source capture and exhaust extraction system. The City of Garfield Heights are getting hoses and extrication tools, as well as a diesel exhaust removal system. The City of Maple Heights are getting extrication tools. The City of Parma, their award is actually for two different items. They received a grant to the city itself for an exhaust system and self-contained breathing apparatus bottle fill station, but in addition, they made a regional application for radios for Parma, Brooklyn Heights, Seven Hills, and Broadview Heights, and the City of Parma had agreed to be the fiscal agent, so that's why their amount is a little higher. The City of Richmond Heights are getting battery and pneumatic operated rescue equipment. The City of South Euclid are getting an air compressor and fill station for their self-contained breathing apparatus. University Heights is getting an exhaust system. Warrensville Heights are getting a self-contained breathing apparatus and face pieces for their firefighters. Brooklyn Heights is getting the same. Chagrin Falls is getting a source capture exhaust system. Highland Hills is getting an airbag system, and in addition, they were also awarded a Type 3 ambulance.
Okay, any questions? Councilman Miller.
Do we know of any cases where municipalities did projects and applied to FEMA for reimbursement and FEMA did not reimburse them?
Yeah, I'm sorry, that they applied to FEMA for reimbursement and did not get reimbursed for a project that they've previously been awarded on previous years. No, I'm not. Any ones that we've agreed to match in the past, they have successfully completed those projects. In some cases, they've needed an extension, but no, they were completed. If your question is, anybody apply this year and not get an award?
Yeah.
Okay, I am aware of the fact that Maple Heights applied for a ladder truck that was not awarded.
But they would not purchase the ladder truck until they heard from FEMA.
That is correct.
That's correct. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Any further questions? Trevor, please.
Good afternoon. Has the FEMA component always been contingent on these funds? Have we always required that FEMA approve it versus going directly to the cities for this grant money?
I'm not sure that I understand your question, Trevor.
Because we're only funding awards that FEMA has awarded, correct?
That's correct.
But these are general fund dollars from the county, which doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be FEMA approved. I mean, if we wanted to reimburse a city for the partial purchase of a fire truck or something like that, we could have done that. Why did we choose to make it FEMA contingent?
The why, I'm not sure, because this has been the way that we've been doing it since about 2013. That's where I found records going back to.
I only ask that because when council discussed this as grant money, I don't think the FEMA component was necessarily presented to council as that it has to be contingent on FEMA approval as well. It was more, these are public safety grants for cities, and that FEMA component wasn't presented. So I was just wondering why that
I think part of it may be because for law enforcement, they have the ability, particularly historically, they've had the ability to get a lot of their equipment purchases from other grants. But there aren't really, outside of the AFG program, there aren't other grants that are out there that handle day-to-day firefighter operations. You'll see me come up and talk about the hazmat specific or water rescue, the specialty aspect of firefighters, but to actually get funding for day-to-day equipment for firefighters, there's just not the grant dollars out there. Whereas you do have a multitude of sources through the Department of Justice for grant dollars for law enforcement. Now those are drying up, but historically they have been there. So that's where this was coming from. So this was a way to help these fire departments actually get the equipment they need for daily operations and just leverage our money.
And did you spend 100% of the public safety grant money? Does this utilize all of it?
There is, doing quick math in my head, maybe less than $10,000 left. You'll recall back in the summer, we brought someone in for training for repairing the bomb equipment where we could not get grant dollars. For some reason, I'm thinking there was one other small grant, a small other purchase that may put us right close to the $200,000, but we were really close. One of the challenges that we ran into with this one is that until FEMA made their actual awards, we had to anticipate the worst case scenario, and there was a while where we thought the amount was going to be $217,000. It wasn't until FEMA started making their awards and started telling us what the local matches were that we got down to the 169. We didn't actually get down to that number until their final awards came out on September 30th.
Thank you. Miller.
Yes. Do we know whether municipalities generally could match and apply for these grants if we were not available to assist them, or does this assistance enable the municipalities to obtain grant funding that they could not obtain otherwise?
I can't say with 100% that every community needs it. I do know there were a number of communities that were constantly reaching out to us. Do you think you're going to make our match? Do you think you can make our match? Because we have to let FEMA know if we're accepting. Mm-hmm. So I know there were a couple of communities that this really did inform their decision. But I can't tell you that it was every community.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Move approval, all items.
Okay, we have a motion to move approval of all items. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item BC number 2019-952, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, submitting an amendment to a contract with Celex ES Inc., doing business as LSAG North America, LLC, for maintenance, support, and extension of warranty on the automated license plate reader, and it's for the period April 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2019, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2021, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $57,183.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn again. These are the maintenance on our mobile automated license plate readers, and this gives the ability to read license plates for criminal activities or terrorist-related activities. These license plate readers are installed on 49 units throughout the region, and it's a complement to our fixed camera project.
Are there any questions on this item? Okay, seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved.
Next item, item number BC 2019-953, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, recommending an award on requisition 46716 and enter into a contract with Vasu Communications, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $13,500 for maintenance and repair of mutual aid box alarm system equipment and associated tower services located at 4300 Robert Bishop Drive in Highland Hills. And it's for the period January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2021.
This contract is for maintenance for the Highland Hills Tower and the equipment that is on it. We actually solicited quotes. We had to do so twice because we only received one vendor who actually gave us a quote. This is a decrease from our previous contract. Previously, our contract was for $10,000 more, but we decreased it based on the last contract. We had a lot of money go unspent. This contract is actually just a break and fix. If we need them to come out and service it, they come out and service it, and then we also pay for them to come out and do maintenance every 6 months.
Are there any questions on this item? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second? Miller, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item's approved. Thanks.
Thank you.
Item BC 2019-954, Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Re-Entry, submitting an amendment to an agreement with Cuyahoga County Court of Common Pleas for intensive probation supervision services in connection with the Veterans Treatment Court Program, and is for the period July 1st, 2015 through December 31st, 2019, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2021, to expand the scope of services to increase the number of veterans serviced to 75, effective January 1st, 2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $131,000.
Good afternoon, Fred Bollett with the Office of Reentry. The Veterans Court is a specialized court docket to try to address the underlying issues that may have led veterans to criminal conduct. It provides intensive probationary services and various behavioral health and economic services to assist them. One thing, just to make clear, it says that it will increase or increase the number of veterans served to 75. It should read by 75. They serve a minimum of 75 every 2 years. Actually, they've exceeded that. In 2018, they successfully discharged 62 veterans. They have tracked recidivism. We have not, our office has not done an intensive study, but the court has tracked recidivism and has shown that people who have gone through the Veterans Treatment Court program have a much lower recidivism rate than the general population.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number BC 2019-955, Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services, submitting an amendment to a contract with Charter Communications Operating LLC, doing business as Spectrum Reach for digital advertising and search placement services to recruit foster and adoptive parents for children in the custody of the Division of Children and Family Services. And it's for the period October 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2019, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2020, to expand the scope of services to include advertising placement services for the Division of Senior and Adult Services, effective December 31st, 2019, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $60,000.
Good afternoon, Stephen Flannery from Health and Human Services. This is an extension of our existing contract with excuse me, Spectrum Reach. It's what used to be Time Warner Cable. The contract has two components. It's digital advertising, which you may have seen an example of one of the ads that I sent. If not, and the other component is search placement results. So for what we're paying for, if anyone searches for a predetermined set of keywords, like foster, adopt, foster Cuyahoga, foster to adopt Cleveland, they'll be directed. Our website will come up as one of the top 3 sites when you do a Google search. So we wanted to continue this. We've had good results. Not to get too technical, but a click-through rate is how many people click on your ads or click on your search results. And right now we're getting about 12% with Spectrum, and the industry average is about 3. The money for this is $40,000 is for children and family services, and $20,000 is for senior and adult services.
Okay, any questions? Mr. Mackler.
Stephen, just in terms of like the 12%, what does that equate to in actual users? How many people is that?
I believe in November we had about 540 inquiries to our recruitment office, and about 25% of those were through the internet efforts.
So you're able to track how many from who come to the office come through this method?
We specifically ask them when they call.
Has there been any consideration, considering the number of children in the county's custody, of increasing the contract, or is that something that's not necessarily needed to try to increase the number of foster care parents?
We're kind of shifting the balance. We're going to focus the creative ads, which are those ads that are on your cell phone or computer. Those are going to be focused more on adoption, so they'll have actual children that are waiting for adoption. The search placement results will focus more on foster parent recruitment.
Do we advertise on social media as well, or is it just through the Google search?
I'm glad you asked that. We have a coordinated campaign. We bought a vanity URL called Every Child Needs Family, and everything leads to that site. So the social media from our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram all will lead back to there, and then these digital ads and placements all lead back there.
And you can track from social media of how many people go to the site as well, just like you do here?
That's a little harder to measure, but we can capture it when we interview folks that come for foster parent training.
Okay, any further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Miller, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Thank you.
Next item, item number BC 2019-956, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, submitting an amendment to a contract with CourtSmart Digital Systems, Inc. for audio and visual recording system maintenance and support services. And it's for the period January 1st, 2013 through December 31st, 2019, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2020, to expand the scope of services for the provision and installation of 46 replacement microphones in various courtrooms, effective December 16, 2019, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $153,192.64.
Good afternoon, Sarah Baker with Juvenile Court. This is just an amendment to our current CourtSmart contract, and it's for the audio and visual equipment in all of our courtrooms. We are also asking for the replacement of 46 microphones in each of the courtrooms. So 105,000 of this is for just the annual maintenance and support, and then about 47,700 is for the microphone replacement cost.
Any questions for Sarah? Councilman Baker?
Thank you for clarifying. I didn't think that that was just for the microphones itself, so I appreciate the scope of service to actually maintain them. Thanks.
Any further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item approved. Thanks.
Next item, item number BC 2019-957, Court of Common Pleas Juvenile Court Division, submitting an amendment to a master contract with various providers for trauma-informed treatment services for court-referred youth, and it's for the period October 1st, 2018 through September 30th, 2019, to extend the time period to September 30th, 2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $13,986.67 for the following providers: Applewood Centers, Inc., Catholic Charities Corporation, and Ohio Mentor, Inc. Also, to remove various providers effective October 1st, 2019, Belfair Jewish Children's Bureau and Cornell Abraxas Group, Inc.
Sarah Baker with Juvenile Court. This contract for trauma-informed treatment is part of our VOCA grant, which services our safe harbor docket. So to match up with the new grant term, this will extend the time and add the additional dollars. And we are also removing 2 of the vendors that had been there previously, just based upon the fact that they didn't reapply when we did the new grant.
Okay. Any questions? Councilman Baker.
Correctly that it's 10/1/2018 to 9/30/2019?
It expired on September 30th of 19, and we need to extend it through September 30th of 20, just kind of based upon when we received the grant notification for this and getting the appropriations all set up and getting the contracts back from the vendors. It put us back behind schedule.
I see. What am I missing here that I don't see a date in here for 9/30/20? Am I not looking at the? Oh, it's underlined. That's why. Should have highlighted it, then I'd really miss it. Thank you.
That's fine. Any further questions? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item approved. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next item, item number BC 2019-958, Sheriff's Department, submitting an agreement with City of Richmond Heights in the amount not to exceed $25,000 for inmate housing services for the period May 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2019.
Lauren Harwell here on behalf of the Sheriff's Department Fiscal Office. Yeah, do you have questions? I sent some over this morning, but.
Go ahead, Trevor, please. Sorry, Councilman Miller.
My question is why we're continuing to house prisoners for another community. We haven't hard enough time handling our own prisoners.
So this was one of the many that we were supposed to have presented over the summer when we renewed all the municipalities, and they were going to continue through the end of the year because that was kind of like our agreement then. I know recently the numbers have come down, but this was just to, again, to get them paid through the end of the year. Because their contract expired in the end of April of last year.
Understood, but when I asked the question, will these services continue into 2020? It says that, yes, it will continue into 2020. That contract will be hired by another staff member and is pending finalization. So why are we doing another contract on this?
I'm not sure why. That is not handled by me, and I was not in those discussions to continue it. The last meeting I was in was that we may not go forward. So the decision to continue to house them was done by the new jail administrator and the chief, Carney.
I'm not planning to vote for that.
Okay.
You know, I made it clear when I voted for it the last time that I was voting for it because we didn't want to leave communities in the lurch. Some of it involves services that we had already provided for and wanted to get paid for, you know, and that's okay. And I'm going to vote for this one here on the same basis. But please let them know that I don't support doing any more.
Okay, I will.
Trevor, please.
Good afternoon, Lauren. Just clarification on your first answer to the first question there about holding off. I'm not sure what the status of the Euclid jail, either opening or closing, would have had an impact on this contract. I mean, we would still need a contract with Richmond Heights. So do you have a little bit more context to that, or is that just what the direction you were working under?
Well, originally, Euclid is closing at the end of the year, and it technically doesn't have much to do with us continuing, other than the fact that Richmond uses Euclid as a hub. And so going forward, they will obviously no longer do that. They'll have to bring them down here. I'm not sure what that had to do with them continuing to get paid through the end of the year. I was just told to hold off on it until we figure out, one, if they're closing, and two, if we want to even continue taking their prisoners, which we did agree to continue taking them through the end of the year. And then I guess the new contract in 2020 the language has changed significantly. But I was just given a direction to just stop by other people. So
I'll follow up with Brandy, but regardless if they were downtown or at the Euclid facility, we still should have had a contract with the city of Richmond Heights. It doesn't matter what location.
Correct. We did, and it was done, approved, agreed on, and then was told to stop.
Okay. I'll
just that I wasn't a part of. So
I'll circle back around with Brandy. Thank you.
Yep.
Councilman Baker.
So is the amount that you're asking for, the $25,000, given that we're almost at the end of the year, is that number? Do you have a better number? Do you have a final number? This is the end of this contract.
I believe we're still under 25,000 right now in terms of the billing, because they've continued to pay and be billed, and we have not reached 25,000.
Okay, so you believe that the 25,000 should be
more
than
than
that?
Yes.
Final bill.
Correct.
Okay, any further questions? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Item approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item number BC 2019-959, Medical Examiner's Office, recommending an award on requisition 47212 and enter into a contract with X-Ray Services of Ohio, LLC, in the amount not to exceed $40,894.20 for preventative maintenance, repair, and calibration on various X-ray equipment. And it's for the period January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2022.
Hugh Shannon, Medical Examiner's Office. This is a maintenance agreement for our X-ray equipment. The new digital X-ray machine is a $500,000 piece of equipment, so it bodes well that we have maintenance on it full time. And this is it is general fund. It's out of the crime lab.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, I'll move to approve. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Item approved. Thank you.
The next item is a two-part item. Item number BC 2019-960, Department of Sustainability A, submitting an RP exemption on requisition 47293, which will result in an award recommendation to Clevelanders for Public Transit, care of All Aboard Ohio fiscal agent in the amount not to exceed $7,500 to organize a transit riders union to train riders to be advocates for alternative transportation and continued improvement of public transit at the county and state level in connection with the 2019 Climate Change Action Plan, and is for the period December 20th, 2019 through December 19th, 2020, and B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Thanks. Mike Foley, Department of Sustainability. Clevelanders for Public Transit is a kind of a organization in the process of becoming a nonprofit organization. They've done a lot of work on organizing riders around the RTA system redesign, fare increases, state and public or state funding for transit. They came to us asking for assistance in helping to kind of formalize their organization. They're a kind of small group, mostly volunteer-based. They do really good work, and so we're joining in with the Gun Foundation to help them both kind of hire some part-time staff and develop a more formal 501c3 organization.
Are there any questions? Councilwoman Baker? Sure.
So isn't this the responsibility of RTA? Aren't they responsible for the funding and hiring and improving? Why is it that we're getting involved?
Part of one of the things that we think is important is that there be a strong public transit system. RTA operates the transit system, and sometimes they're good about asking for public input, but one of the things we also think is that there's, riders who are getting together who have opinions should be kind of have an independent voice, and so their voice is we're helping to kind of coalesce or strengthen their voice and all the decisions that are being made within the organization, and other policy decisions to be made, need to be made for a stronger public transit system.
Is the RTA involved in this process?
Well, in the process of funding them. I mean, they meet with CPT all the time, and CPT asks for their meetings with them. So there's a lot of interaction, but CPT is a kind of an independent organization, separate from RTA.
Did CPT go to RTA for funding?
I don't know.
Okay.
Mr. Mackler, please.
Like, just for clarification on what's on the agenda, is the money being used for operating support, not necessarily to organize transit riders, union to train riders to advocates? I mean, this is going to provide operating support for their nonprofit?
This is a one-time request for money to help them formalize the organization to 501c3, help organize some staff. One of the things they want to do is become kind of a membership organization, so they're not asking for groups like the Gun Foundation or other foundations for money. So this is to help kind of develop that plan moving forward to have them kind of be a stronger organization in the future.
And are there other funding sources other than the county and the Gun Foundation? Do you know, is the city of Cleveland giving any money or others?
I know the Gun and Cleveland, assuming we do, the county is. I'm not sure after that, I'm sorry.
And it is just one time, you don't plan on providing ongoing operating support for them?
That's correct.
Do they, with the contract, are there any deliverables or any metrics or anything in the contract, or is it really just, here's a payment of $7,500 for you, or are there any requirements in the contract that they?
There's no requirements in the contract. It's in their self-interest. This is their motivation, is to organize this C3 organization. So that's what it's for.
Okay. Any further questions? Seeing none, I'll move to approve. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Item approved. Thank you.
Next item, item number BC 2019-961, Personnel Review Commission submitting an amendment to a contract with the Archer Company, LLC, for classification and compensation analysis for the period December 5th, 2016 through December 4th, 2019, to extend the time period to December 4th, 2022, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $45,000.
Rebecca Kopczynski for the Personnel Review Commission. We are here requesting an amendment today to our contract with the Archer Company to continue to provide services to assist the PRC in its efforts to maintain and administer the class plan for the county. I would note that it is a reduced amount. The last 3 years it was $75,000. We are reducing the amount to $45,000 for the next 3.
Okay, any questions? Mr. Mackler.
Rebecca, can you talk a little bit about why the reduction? Is it just more maintenance now, less?
Exactly.
Any further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number BC 2019-962, Personnel Review Commission submitting an agreement with the City of Seven Hills in the amount not to exceed $1,927, and it's for classification and compensation consulting services for the period December 16, 2019 through January 30th, 2020.
Again, Rebecca Kupczynski for the Personnel Review Commission. We're requesting approval of a revenue-generating agreement with the City of Seven Hills. They've requested that we assist them with the development of some position descriptions for their city.
Councilman Miller.
I think the City of Seven Hills is getting a bargain. I think your services and expertise is probably worth a lot more than $1,927.
I appreciate the compliment. We do use a model that is based on the Planning Commission's approach to developing a rate for charging for our services. So I think we're reasonable.
We have a motion approved and approved by Mr. Mackler. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Item approved. On to exemptions. Thank you.
BC 2019-963, Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Senior and Adult Services, recommending an alternative procurement process to add providers for homemaking and personal care services to the master contract with various providers for various services for the Cuyahoga Options for Independent Living Services program. And it's for the period January 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2019. No additional funds required.
Good afternoon. Paul Porter, Health and Human Services, on behalf of the Division of Senior and Adult Services. We're seeking approval of an alternative procurement method to add additional vendors for our options program, specifically for homemaking and personal care services, and that's due to a 37% increase in demand for those two services since 2017. If you approve this alternative procurement process, we would be able to add vendors who responded to the 2017 RFP but didn't receive an award recommendation at that time, as we initially determined that the selected vendors appeared to have the capacity to serve the options caseload. This amendment won't require additional funds, as there is funding in the master agreement to provide these services. We'll just add these vendors as another referral option to that master agreement.
Okay. Lenora, go ahead, please.
Lenora Lockett, Office of Procurement and Diversity. I wanted to bring up a matter regarding the date for the alternate procurement. The goal is for them to do a process to add vendors. They're in a process of preparing an amendment, so we just want them to have an alternate procurement that provides that this ultimate procurement will weave those additional vendors into the existing contract. So the date will basically be concurrent with whatever the master contract is that they have.
Gotcha. Okay. Any further questions? Mr. Miller.
Do we know who the additional vendors are that we're adding?
There's a list of 9 vendors that responded and that were included in those we didn't make a recommendation to. Our goal with the alternative procurement is to reach out to each of those 9 vendors, determine whether they're still interested in providing the services, and assess their capacity to make sure whoever we choose from that list of 9 vendors, not that we would choose all of them, but that they would be able to meet demand, particularly for referrals in harder to serve areas on the western and southern areas of the county. But we also are looking at some of the vendors who responded and said they would serve the entire county as well. We've got demand countywide for these services.
Why were these vendors not included in the current contract?
When we made the initial awards in 2017, those vendors that we made awards to, we felt that at the time they had the capacity to serve the clients that were on the caseload. We did select, several vendors that said they would serve the entire county at that time. What we've experienced is since that demand has gone up, they would still serve the entire county, but if we keep sending them referral after referral, they might not be able to accept everything we're sending to them. It wasn't that they were poor proposals. It's just, we went through the list and chose the highest scoring proposals that we felt at the time had adequate capacity to serve the options caseload.
Okay, Trevor, please.
Paul, with the additional resources that council members put into 2020-2021 budget, how does that look in terms of having enough service providers to be able to meet the additional resources?
Absolutely. Since we're not planning on doing additional funding for this amendment when we add those vendors, our feeling is the funding is adequate with those additional funds. This amendment would come after that amendment extending the time and adding the dollars for 2020 is approved. So we would expect if this alternative procurement is approved that we would reach out to the vendors sometime during the remainder of the year. The amendment that's in process right now would be approved probably in January by council, and then this amendment would be forthcoming after that. I think the funding's more than adequate to accommodate the additional vendors, though.
Okay, any further comments or questions? No? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Consent agenda item numbers BC 2019-964 through 968.
If you want to take a quick minute to let me know if you have any questions, any of the items. Does anybody have any questions on them? No? Okay, seeing none, I make a motion to approve today's consent agenda items 964 through 968. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Items approved. Next.
We have additional business. We have a mission critical item from the Office of the Medical Examiner recommending an award on requisition 47627 to Advantage Inc. in the amount not to exceed $4,360 for the emergency repair of 2 Agilent gas chromatic mass spectrometer instruments. And the funding source is the Medical Examiner's Crime Lab Fund.
I feel like the end of the Oscars. I'm accepting the award for Best New Screenplay for a foreign film. No one's
Take your
paying
time.
attention.
No hurry.
We had a couple more breakdowns of the GCMSs in the drug chemistry lab that we needed fixed. We do have now, we are preparing a list, as we discussed, I think the last time we had these breakdowns, of equipment needs in line with the council's recommendations for use of the opioid settlement money. So we'll have that over to council and the executive shortly.
Okay, I will make a motion to amend today's agenda to include this item. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item's been amended. Are there any questions? Trevor.
Hugh, just on the age of the equipment, would you maybe consider this type of equipment would be eligible for potential replacement with those funds, or is this fairly new?
I believe so. No, so I would have to check on the specific machines, but the majority of them are in the 8 to 12-year-old range, which is, again, these are very reliable, sturdy machines, but it's just the wear and tear.
Okay, any further questions? All right, I will make a motion to approve this mission critical item. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item's approved.
Thank you.
Next item.
To make a statement, the Board of Control meetings for Monday, December 23rd and Monday, December 30th have been canceled, and the next meeting will be held on Monday, January 6th, 2020.
Okay. Hearing that, I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Mackler. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.
See you on Thursday. You coming in Thursday?
Absolutely.
Good.